Hello to all our England fans. Today was kickoff, very exciting day. We know our group, 4 opponents, strong opponents: Serbia, Albania, Latvia, which is a new challenge for all of us, and Andorra. I can't wait to start in January and can't wait to see you in March when we play our first matches, and let's keep this thing going together. So best regards from Zurich. See you soon.
I mean, hardly the most inspiring speech, was it? But yes, England do know their group now for the World Cup qualification campaign that will be starting from next year, as Thomas Tuchel said. There was a possibility we could have had a smaller group. That did not happen, so England are drawn in what is one of the larger groups, but still smaller than what traditionally has been some of the World Cup qualification groups. But the 4 teams England do have are Serbia, who England last played, of course, at the last Euros in their opening game, a 1-0 victory, quite a poor game to be honest with you, followed by Albania, who we haven't played actually since 2021, and that was a 5-0 win in our last World Cup qualification campaign, ironically. Latvia, who of course we have never played before. Finally, Andorra, who coincidentally we also beat 5-0 in our last World Cup qualification campaign. Let's have a quick look at the team's FIFA World Rankings displayed on the side here. So as you can see, it's pretty fair to say it's going to be a shootout between Serbia and England for that top spot, and beyond those two, there's a real drop-off in class and quality, it's fair to say. At this point, though, it's worth reminding ourselves how qualification for European teams works for the World Cup, because there has been some slight changes, and there's this very handy graphic here from the BBC. So the important part, essentially, from here, though, is that only the top team will qualify automatically for the World Cup. I've said it before, I've said it again. Qualification for the World Cup in Europe is by far the hardest in the world. It is by far. Hence the reason why Italy have now been missing for the last 8 years. The runner-up will then go into a playoff. So if you finish runners-up, you will go into a playoff alongside the 4 Nations League teams. And then 4 out of those 16 teams in the playoffs will then make it to the World Cup. So only the teams that top the group will automatically qualify, followed by those 4 playoff winners as well. So it's incredibly tight, and you can see how one bad result in a game can actually mean that your place at a World Cup, no matter who you are in Europe, could mean your place is at risk. Let's just take a quick look at the wider qualification groups. So here they are. You can see there, I can't see any major upsets. Obviously, there's some groups that are still formally to be finalised and decided with the team split, but it's going to depend on how things go in the Nations League, for example. But you'd expect pretty much every top seed, every top nation, stereotypically, that you would say from Europe, should qualify for the World Cup. In regards to England, though, like I said, because we have been drawn in what are now the larger groups of the qualification campaign, England were possibly due to play a friendly in March or early next year as a consequence against the United States. They were some of the rumours, and for that to actually happen in the US, that's probably not likely to happen now, given that England's World Cup qualification campaign will start in March with those first competitive games. There was also a risk, depending on what group we were drawn in, that Thomas Tuchel could have been taking charge of his first competitive game much later in the year. Again, that is now not at risk. England will start their campaign in March. First reactions to this group, look, I'm happy with it. I am really, really happy with it. I mean, obviously, Serbia are by far they are the standout team in this group alongside England. On paper, though, and based on the performance that we saw at the Euros, I expect England to win this group and win it comfortably. And when I say that, I mean win every game in this group. Serbia, I'm not disrespecting them, but Serbia will realistically have England as favourites as well. I don't think most Serbian fans would disagree with that. However, and there is a however, Wembley, as we know, isn't the fortress we like to think it is. England have lost many games this year against teams that we wouldn't have probably expected to beat us this year at home. Greece and Iceland in particular stand out. So Serbia will be looking at this and thinking, you know what, if we can go to Wembley and do sort of, a similar result in the way that Greece and Iceland did, they'll really fancy their chances, actually. Thomas Tuchel has actually came out and said we are surely favourites, but he's not taking anyone for granted, and he's saying that the gap between the traditional or supposed smaller teams in Europe has closed now between the larger teams, and he referenced the Euros, the past Euros, as an example of that, where the quality of football seemed quite poor, and the gap between the so-called big hitters and the lower teams did seem a little bit more tighter and restricted compared to previous years. So I think there's some truth in that. But I expect England to top this group. There's no doubt about it. Let's have a quick look at the fixtures calendar. So it's the 21st to the 25th of March is the first window for these games to take place. That's followed then by the 6th and 10th of June. Then September the 4th and 9th, and finally November the 13th and 18th. So all within a calendar year, it will be decided, and that is a breakaway from traditional qualification campaigns that have sometimes lasted over 1 or 2 years, but it is very much the norm now, like the Euros campaign was, and like the World Cup now is, and the Nations League. They're all sorted within a relatively small time frame now. I am honestly really pleased with this draw, and England were likely to get a relatively easy group on paper, given the fact that we were top seeds as part of the draw because of our FIFA World Ranking. So England were always likely to get a favourable draw, should we say, and avoid some of the supposed bigger teams in Europe. But of course, we have all just witnessed how hard work England made of their Nations League campaign, a campaign that England should have probably won every single game and won it comfortably. That didn't quite go to plan. In fact, we finished joint top of the group with Greece, but we topped the group based on goals scored or goals difference, one of the two. But yeah, we made harder work of it than what we should have done, really. And obviously this could happen with this. You'd expect Serbia to beat those other nations as well. So again, if Serbia can come to Wembley and do what Iceland or Greece did this year, then England could possibly finish second in this group. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that that may happen. So we certainly don't need to take this for granted that qualification is assured. And that's what Thomas Tuchel has already come out and said, which I'm really pleased about. And you would expect him to say nothing but that. But I think England fans who will be looking at this and thinking it's done now, we just need to turn up. It's just an air of caution around that, because we've got examples this year where we don't always go to plan, do we? If you're a fan who likes to go and watch England away, the England away allocation for a lot of these games probably won't be very strong. I mean, outside of Serbia, Albania, Latvia and Andorra, you'll be looking at 1,000 tickets probably around about the allocation. So you're going to need a lot of England caps as a fan to probably claim your ticket for those matches away from home. So that's probably one downside of it. There's a lot of small nations there with small grounds. That means that it's going to be difficult for people to get to away games. But other than that, it's really exciting. I think it's nice that we're going to be playing Latvia. It's quite rare, actually. England are playing a team that we have never played before. So it's another one to see, another one to tick off our list. Serbia, I do fear them a little bit, but anybody who's anybody would expect England to top this group and top it comfortably. That's it for this video. What are your thoughts? I just can't wait for it to get started now. I mean, it's not until March. It's a long break now, 3 months or so. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. There is still England content coming throughout December and into January. I do my weekly live stream. So if you're new to this channel and you've enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all on my next video.